Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Intelex's webinar series. My name is Peter Alouche, and I'll be moderating today's webinar, which is called ISO 9001-2015, an Implementation Perspective. So first of all, we are excited to have our special guest today, Peter Merrill, on this webinar. Peter is one of North America's foremost authorities on implementation of ISO 9001. He has over 20 years of experience in developing systems with companies such as Ontario Power Generation, Research in Motion, Chemical, AIG, and IBM. He was one of the first consultants to take a company to ISO 9001-2015 and has a wide range of practical experience with the ISO 9001-2015 standard. He's a previous member of the Chairman's Strategic Advisory Group of ISO Technical Committee 176 at the heart of strategy development for ISO 9001. He also led the International Working Group, which is developed for the ISO guideline on people involvement in management systems. He's currently a member of the ISO communications team responsible for explaining ISO 9001-2015 to new users. He's also a published author. He's written books including Do It Right the Second Time, Innovation Generation, and Innovation Never Stops. He's also president of Quest Management, Inc., and was past chair of the Toronto section of the American Society of Quality, and currently chairs the ASQ Innovation Think Tank. So thank you, Peter, for joining us today. Myself, I'm the quality practice manager in our market strategy team at Intelex, and let's get started. So today we're just going to cover, briefly give you an introduction about who we are as companies, including Intelex and Quest Management Systems. And then Peter is going to walk us through ISO 9001-2015, talking about the structure of the standard, terminology and interpretations, as well as transitioning to the new standard. And then we'll wrap up with questions at the end. And Peter, I'll pass it off to you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. As Peter indicated, my company is called Quest Management, and more importantly, I come from being a member of Technical Committee 176, which is the ISO committee that writes the ISO 9000 standard. And currently, I'm a member of the communications group, which has the responsibility of explaining the new standard. So I'm going to be sharing some of that knowledge with you today. You'll see a few other points on this slide. The only one I think that really matters is that my company is one of the first companies to take a client to 9001-2015. Through last year, we worked with a number of companies using the draft standard, and then we actually got our first company registered just a matter of 8 weeks, in fact, after the standard has been published. We've registered a number of companies since then, and so what I'm going to share with you today is the practical experience of implementing the new standard, and importantly, not in just a manufacturing context, but also in a service environment as well. And the new standard, as you probably well know, is written very much to embrace service as well as manufacturing. Okay, so first of all, let me share with you some of the essential high-level changes that have taken place. First of all, structural, and then I'll go into content change. As you by now are probably well aware, the new standard has adopted a structure which is common to all ISO management systems. So if you are handling other systems besides quality, for instance 14,000 environmental, 27,000 IT security, and there's just any time now will be published the new health and safety standard, all of these are going to be using the same common high-level structure. This will make system integration so much easier. In addition, the new high-level structure has drawn from the knowledge of the many different ISO standards, and that has made a huge difference to the way the new standard is structured. The high-level structure has a standard core text, so there are words in all of these standards, all of these different management system standards, which are common. but then the individual technical committees embed their own text on top of the standard text. So that's the way it's formatted. And one thing I want to stress straight away, the new standard follows the Plan, Do, Check, Act structure, which had been in place for 15 years with the existing standard. Probably the most significant step forward for me is that the word services is actually written into the standard. In the old standard, there was a little line right at the beginning saying, wherever you see the word product, you can substitute the word services. Well, that was a stretch, particularly when it came to non-conforming product. When you try to apply that in non-conforming services, it didn't really work. Now the standard writers have had to address services up front. Probably the major real change in terms of structure, though, is the introduction in Clause 4, which if you've had previous exposure to the standard, you'll know that's where the requirements actually start. In Clause 4, the standard actually looks outside instead of inside the organization. It asks, what are the external influences that are impacting your business? It gets you looking at business strategy. It gets you looking at the marketplace, and that's what context is about. I'll explain that in more detail.